Welcome back to the beta test, folks. There's a lot of things I've been working on basically all summer, almost Labor Day. And hopefully there's one little unknown here, ghost in the machine, that I hope will not spoil the fun, because I got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. I think most people appreciate the 4K. If you're watching on YouTube or any of the Crowdsource the Truth sponsorship channels, first of all, thank you for sponsoring the show on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, or on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com if that's where you're on. If you are following me on X at JG_CSTT, thank you for that. If you're subscribed there, thank you for that. Unfortunately, we can't get 4K on there, so get onto one of those other channels. And let's go on a little adventure on the Highline. As I said, this is a beta test, so if you are sensitive to possible network outages, you could either watch until that happens or not. It's completely voluntary participation. That's the way I like it. We're going to go on a walk through some of the most data-deprived areas of the mobile data network, testing out this system that I've been working very hard to make robust. But the point of the show today is this Fugazi Ferrari Philanthropy. I don't know, did people hear about this? It was making big news all week, really. I mean, this just happened last Saturday in Monterey. Anybody been to the Concours d'Elegance, the Auto Week in Monterey? First of all, let's make sure we're live here. Oh boy, oh no. Is it? It says upcoming. Why is there no? There we go. Hey Jeff, how are you? So again, the purpose of all of this is to be able to be live with everybody, interact with people. Feel free to get into the comments. I'm watching comments on YouTube on the Jason Goodman channel. That's the big channel that took me 5 years or more to get back from the villainous Muppets controlling YouTube. We're back on there, 114,000 subscribers, and we've got 10 people with us. One weird looking Ferrari, that's true, Rocker Marco. So that's what I want to talk about. We've got this dude. It's a weird looking Ferrari and it's a weird looking dude. I've got him in the thumbnail here today. This guy is Dr. Herbert Wertheim. He's a billionaire optometrist. You don't really hear that too often. I don't know that optometry is a field that we normally associate with billionaireism, but this dude is. He's a brilliant investor. He's a bespoke Ferrari collector, and he is a philanthropist. That's what I want to talk about with regard to this dude today. Philanthropy. People who have been watching the show for a while will know that under the tutelage of the great Charles Ortel, I certainly have learned a lot. I don't know, maybe you were an expert in nonprofit fraud prior to watching Charles. I wasn't. The reason why it's important, look, even if you don't care about Ferraris, we're here in New York City. Zoran Mamdani, or if you're going to vote for AOC for president, Zoran Mamdani wants to tax the rich. And frankly, he wants to tax everybody. I am not rich, and I pay a lot of taxes living here in New York City. I don't know about you. I think everybody would prefer to pay less taxes. Certainly billionaires seem to prefer it. Our man Herbie over there, he's got it all sorted out. So people probably heard last Saturday at the R.M. Sotheby Auto Auction, an annual event where some of the most desirable automobiles in the world are auctioned to the wealthiest of the wealthy. This dude, Herbie, is worth, Dr. Wertheim, he's worth $3 to $4 billion according to public estimates. And as I said, he is a bespoke Ferrari collector. Now let's talk a little bit about Ferrari for a second, because maybe what some people don't know is, you know, we've been by the Ferrari dealership up there on, what is it, 51st, 47th, something around there, and Park Avenue. And basically any tool can stroll in there, and if your bank account can tolerate a $350,000 spend, they got a bunch of vehicles there sort of on the lot, a 296, even this Puro Sangue we might see on the walk down into the Radio Bermuda Triangle. Anybody can walk in there and buy one of those. Those are sort of the, you know, Ferrari line. And when Ferrari started, I believe in 1947, all the vehicles were handmade. I think they still are to some extent. Obviously, it's a more modernized process now. Ferrari was owned for a while by the Fiat Group. It was spun out, I think, in 2015 as an independent brand. Had an IPO. The stock symbol is RACE. Ferrari has an $80 billion market capitalization. Isn't that weird? I think General Motors has a $50 billion market capitalization, meaning the value of all the shares of the stock, you know, the stock price times all the shares. And again, I'm not a stockbroker, I'm not a finance expert. Someone says Thomas Crooks never fired a shot. I agree. Interesting topic. But hi. Anyway, the point is, so we just got a little message there from the bitrate monitor, but I think we're doing all right. Where's my buddy who I blocked the other day for telling me I'm never going to be able to do a 4K live stream? Let's see how our real-time transcode is going over here for friends on X. It looks like it's going. People watching on X, you're only getting HD. What's with you? Get on over to YouTube or one of the sponsored channels for the full 4K Highline experience. So anyway, basically Ferrari's got their run-of-the-mill, you know, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 vehicles, and then they have certain. Brian Reynolds is not suspended here. Oh yeah, no, Sal had the day off. DW. Well, he didn't have the day off. I don't know, he's got something that he had to do, so he had to move his show yesterday. He was on with Jack earlier, and he just couldn't do two shows today. So External Affairs will be back next week. Right now, we are testing, I don't know if I want to say the ultimate, but this is the latest configuration of the link aggregated bonded mobile network, which I'm confident will give us a reliable 4K live stream all around the city while we talk about this Fugazi Ferrari Philanthropy. So yeah, anybody at all can walk into a Ferrari dealership, purchase one of those sort of off the lot of 296, whatever you might want. But then they have these special one-off units that they produce. Sometimes, you know, there's only one in the world made. And they also have limited edition runs. So in 2025, here's what I'm getting at. They had this vehicle called the Daytona SP3 599. And the reason it got this 599 designation was because only 599 of these cars were to be built. And they say the price ranges from about 2.5 to about 3.5 million. I guess maybe there are options, or maybe if you get the first one, it costs a certain amount. If you get the 599th one, it costs another amount. But last August, 2025, in Monterey, homeboy Herbie, he scored the +1, a bespoke, tailor-made, as it were. They actually call it that, the tailor-made Ferrari Daytona SP3 599 +1. That's it right there. Image enhanced with AI, but that's essentially what it looked like, and I think that's the CEO or some Ferrari big handing him the keys. That he bought for $26 million. Over here, maybe I just need to move through here quickly. Hopefully people don't get this deadly message of reconnecting. Red is okay. You might notice a reduction in quality temporarily, but that's the idea, is the system is supposed to live through a dip and come back. Is it saying that? Dude's got a broken leg. Yeah, maybe that's working. Do people notice a reduction in quality? Who the hell is he? Herbie, you mean? Herbie is a billionaire, optometrist, philanthropist, investor. It's weird, I agree. Like I said, optometrists aren't frequently associated with being billionaires, but this guy invented some kind of dye that is involved, I think, in making sunglasses or some kind of special sunglasses, which, I don't know, whatever. Where's my angle? These guys like, hey, get to the point. So Herbie buys this $26 million Daytona SP3. But the thing is, it's for charity, right? So we need to look at the Ferrari Foundation, which is a 501c3 public nonprofit charity, like the Clinton Foundation, organized under Section 170B1A6 of IRS Code, which, you know, this is all the laws that determine if you're gonna not pay tax on this money. There's like certain stuff that you can do and certain stuff that you cannot do. And so Ferrari in 2023 began the transition from a private foundation, which is operated under a different set of laws for nonprofits. It transitioned from being a private foundation to being this public 501c3 nonprofit. And the reason why people who don't care about Ferrari should care about this is because while you're being taxed, this company with a $70 to $80 million market capitalization and their buddies who are billionaires worth $2-3 billion driving around in $40 million cars, they're getting all kinds of tax breaks, crazy benefits that really I don't think you or I could ever hope to achieve. But exactly, sounds like a scam. And I'm going to get into the details of why I believe it is. To be clear, I don't have any direct evidence that Herbie or Ferrari or any of the people involved have broken the law. In fact, oddly, it does seem like what they're doing is strictly legal. Now, we lost it over here the other day. It is dipping down to about 2 megabits. I don't understand why it's so crappy over here. I thought I measured it and it was better. But anyway, Herbie, he buys it for $26 million. But when we check out the Ferrari Foundation 990, it's weird because, no, that's not it, sorry. Is this it? That's the stock price. Where have I got the 990? Maybe, well, it might be at the end of this. Here he is. I've got this article that I posted. Maybe I forgot to include the 990. This article is available for people to watch on X if you follow me on X. He's got his Fugazi Ferrari Foundation Philanthropy pin there. When you look at the 990, let me see, do I have the 990? I thought I did. Yeah, there it is. The guy who is the director, oh, no, that's the Lawfare Institute. Sorry, folks, I forgot the 990. The general counsel for Ferrari North America and the managing director of the Ferrari Institute is a guy named David Wertheim. Now that is suspicious. I discussed this with Charles the other day, and it seemed to me that, that's not Jones, that's not the most common last name I ever heard. It doesn't mean that these guys are related. And by the way, if it was father and son, or if they were brothers, or if they were married, that would have to be reported by law. If David Wertheim is Herbie Wertheim's nephew or cousin, then the law does not require them to report a familial relationship. So that's an interesting wrinkle in the law. Part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is that if there's any lawmakers watching who agree that this is an utter sham, we should change the law, because we should not allow billionaires to do this. But the point is, he buys the car for $26 million, and the way the law works, as far as I understand it, again, I'm not an attorney, and this isn't legal advice, this isn't tax advice, this isn't even an indictment. This is just an informational walk and talk where I'm testing a variable bit rate bonded link aggregating mobile data network. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Only 6 megabits over here. They're very interested. So the way the law works, the donor is only allowed to deduct the amount from an auction item over the fair market value. So it was determined that this Ferrari was worth something between 2.5 and 3.5 million in terms of its fair market value. And the Wertheim Family Foundation is listed as the donor on the 2025 990. The 22 odd million donation is listed as an unusual grant. And the reason for that is this thing, as I said, is a public nonprofit. It's a 501c3 organized under 170B1A6, and so they want to be subject to those laws. They don't want to have to do all the kind of payouts and disclosures that a different classification, I don't know what their purpose is, but it's a different set of laws that they're going to be dealing with if it's not a public charity. So they have a note in the 990 saying, oh, this is an unusual grant, and oh look, here's this Lucid SUV. This guy dropped like 300,000 on a Lucid Gravity. Company's basically on its way out of business. So, propped up by the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. So Herbie, the family foundation, Wertheim Family Foundation, takes this 22 million, it's a tax-deductible charitable donation. Ferrari gets the money. They say, oh, this is an unusual grant. And the thing is, that year, 2025, the Ferrari Foundation took in something like $28 million. By the way, the tax-exempt purpose for the Ferrari Foundation is for education of children. But they sent the money to this Ferrari, there's some sort of Ferrari University where they're training, future specialized technicians to work at the Ferrari factory. This is in Maranello, where Ferraris are built. So they get these like super billionaire donations that are supposed to be to help. The campus is not even under construction yet. They're breaking ground in 2027, and they're using US taxpayer subsidized funds to build a college to train people how to make Ferraris. They should build a college to train assholes not to ride bicycles on the sidewalk. That's what we need. I don't know why we're stuck in this low bit rate rut over here. So, well, Brian says, whose children? To be fair, they did give some money to the children. Between 2023 and 2024, the Ferrari Foundation did give about $1.5 million to Save the Children Italia during a time that organization was under investigation for human smuggling. Now, they've been acquitted, exonerated, found that they did nothing wrong, so I don't really know what's up with those charges. I didn't follow that case. I'm not saying they did or didn't do anything, but it's a weird look for Ferrari to be taking 26 million bucks from a dude with the same last name as their lawyer to a charity that is tax exempt because it's supposed to be giving money to kids, and they basically only gave it to themselves and something that was on trial for human trafficking or human smuggling. I don't know exactly what the charge was. People can look that up. Save the Children Italia smuggling. Whose children? I don't know. Italian children. There was a brief buffer. All right, brief is okay. We don't want that. Yeah, I mean, the problem is, though, we're stuck down here at low bit. I don't know why. Something's jamming it up down there. It's not coming back. But it's a better test than the other day. So we got more jackasses on the sidewalk. So that's 2025. Now flash forward to last Saturday, 2026. See, again, here's this Ferrari Puro Sangue, or Puro Sangue. Forgive my Italian, it's terrible. But this is a 12-cylinder. I like this. This is going to roar and scream and go really fast. People were up in arms about Ferrari building an SUV. So what you may or may not have heard is that in April or May, when they launched this first ever EV, the Luce, people hated it. It was universally panned. Even the chairman, the former chairman of Ferrari's board, said this risks destroying a legend. So that's pretty bad. Not a good review from the former chairman of the board of Ferrari. But if you weren't following that, it was a terrible disaster. The day after, or in the session following the release of the car, this is the Radio Bermuda Triangle. How we doing over here? In the next trading session, Ferrari's stock, with its approximately $75 to $80 billion market capitalization, it dropped 8%, shaving approximately $5 billion in market cap. So that was a disaster. And then what's interesting is, I was showing that little stock graph a moment ago. Look at this. Since the stock market closed last Friday, look down there. It closed at 414. Look, it's been sort of a rally on the stock. It closed today 22 points up. So basically, building back a huge portion of that lost market capitalization. This gives rise to questions. Does the good doctor own shares of Ferrari? Does his potential nephew, namesake, lawyer, who maybe isn't related to him at all, just coincidentally has the same name? Could be. That could be. A lot of people named Wertheim, I'm sure, floating around Ferrari. I don't know. But does the doctor own stock? So he buys this Luce for $40 million, which makes really no sense, because that is 36 times the expected auction price. This is Luce Chassis 00. They've called it that. It's the very first Luce to come out of Ferrari that people can buy. And so it's going to have historic significance. The fact that it's now become the most expensive new car ever bought at auction. It's got a bit of a history to it. Are we sure that this is a purely charitable purchase by the doctor, or are there ulterior motives? If the lawyer working for Ferrari is related to him, look, even if he's not, they're complying with the law, because if it's his nephew or not, they certainly know him from last year when he bought the $26 million Ferrari. Did they concoct some scheme to, get crazy publicity by buying the car for $40 million? And does the doctor have some scheme worked out where the stock is down, I'll buy this car, and then the value of the stock going up will essentially pay for the car? By the way, the guy's 87, so when he croaks, which is inevitable for all of us, his family or his family foundation will get this car, and they can borrow against it tax-free. That's quite an asset, a $40 million car. I mean, it's not really worth $40 million. Just because you paid $40 million doesn't mean you can borrow $40 million against it. But you look to 1965 Ferrari GTO, different types of unique Ferraris. These things are more like fine art than traditional automobile valuations. Right, it's ugly. People hate it. Any ties to Austin Wealth Firm? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's blurry, because what happened is, right, it's gotten knocked down to this low bit rate that it's supposed to be able to come back from, but something is still not working right. That's all right. That's why it's a beta test. Soon it will be completely functional. 87. Right, he's got a lot of money. Yeah, we're looking at a low bit rate. I don't know why. There should be really adequate network bandwidth over here. So, that's all very screwy business. But the other thing is, maybe it is illegal, because if this is or maybe they got to change their status and not be a public charity anymore, go back to being a private foundation. Because if it's primarily funded by one guy, he's already got the Wertheim Family Foundation, where that's all his money. In order to be a 501c3 under that section 170B1A6, it's got to be support coming from the general public. I mean, if you had a charity called Save the Children, where it's like, hey, anybody out there who wants to save children can come give money to this charity, that's one thing. If it's all designed to create tax shelters and all these seem like pecuniary benefits to Ferrari and the Wertheim family, it's not a charity, right? I mean, if you can manipulate the stock price, generate huge marketing campaigns, kind of viral news about this car. Because here's the other thing. They started developing this Ferrari Luce in 2021, according to reports. I don't have any inside information from Ferrari. Maybe Wertheim does. But they started developing it in 2021, and people allege it was something like 2 to 3 billion. So they release it in May, and people say, hey, we hate this. No one's going to buy it. And Ferrari says, uh-oh, we got like a new Coke situation on our hands. This is the worst marketing disaster in the history of marketing disasters. What are we going to do? And so, maybe, I'm not saying this happened, but I could conceive of it. Maybe they said, hey, let's get Herbie Wertheim to buy the car for $40 million, and then that'll be a big news story. Everybody will be talking about the Ferrari Luce, and it sort of, transforms on some sort of level the image of the car from this fat, slow, compared to other EVs, Ferrari turd. Here's an EV. If you get the performance version of this, it's like almost as fast as the Ferrari. The Tesla Model S Plaid is a quarter of the price, and it's faster than the Ferrari. So that's weird. But maybe, Ferrari figures, hey, this guy buys it for 40 million, it transforms it from a turd that nobody wants to the most expensive new car ever sold at auction. You got to admit, it turns a negative story positive to at least some extent. So that's basically the story in a nutshell. I mean, I heard about that $40 million Ferrari. And see, the other thing that's weird is there's been so much reporting on it. Nobody at all zeroed in on this whole Ferrari Foundation aspect of it. Rocker Marco remembers scoffing at Porsche making an SUV, and now he owns one. Congratulations, that's a nice car. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you had the money, that Ferrari SUV looks pretty damn nice to me. I definitely don't begrudge anyone for being a billionaire, inventing whatever this dude invented, or buying a Ferrari. Ferraris are great. They're loads of fun, I'm sure. But the problem is, what's with, I'm sure the other thing about the Ferrari Foundation is every one of the board members is a Ferrari executive. So, this is not really a public charity, or it doesn't appear to be one. It doesn't seem to be, if there was any kind of actual scrutiny on these things, you should not be allowed to do this. I mean, again, I'm reiterating, I'm not accusing Ferrari of breaking the law. I'm just saying, how do you feel as somebody who's, working to earn a living, paying taxes, knowing that billionaires are out there enjoying these, benefits that just don't seem right, even if they are legal. And we hear, low IQ people like AOC and Zoran Mamdani talking about tax the rich. No, that's not the way to do it. I think most people would not object if you eliminated the legal loopholes that allowed someone to buy a Ferrari for $40 million to the benefit of Ferrari so they could build a college that teaches people how to make more Ferraris for the benefit of Ferrari so that this guy can get a tax write-off. I mean, how much money is coming out of, the tax dollars that then, cities and the federal government don't have that money and they got to turn to us to raise taxes and get more money. If we could have all these Ferrari drivers and Ferrari executives because the other thing is, what the hell are they doing with the remainder of the 26 million? 2025, they took in 26 to 27 million and paid out only 1.5 million. What are they doing with all that money? Is it just sitting in the bank, accruing interest? Are they investing it? I mean, is this some kind of Ferrari slush fund that they can just build up over years? And by the way, I'm singling out Ferrari just because they were in the news all this week. The question then becomes, how many other people, how many other companies are doing this? And just think about the scheming mind, how it can, there's some financial legal genius out there who, maybe it's David Wertheim, I don't know, but they concoct these elaborate, let's call them aggressive tax shelters, and these guys think it's funny. It's a game to them. I don't know. What do you think? What do people think? If you're watching, do you like this, that a billionaire can get a huge tax write-off? Right, so that's what Jeff is saying. Trump didn't cheat. He just obviously did probably complicated things like this. Some of the news stories say that this guy is friends with Trump. And also, by the way, when they get on TV and say, oh, we're raising taxes, or, we're giving you a check for $400 or whatever, why don't we do something meaningful, like make it so that every single nonprofit that's doing something like this, change the law. Maybe you can't go back and retroactively do anything to them if they were adhering to the law at the times that they did it, but make it so that this kind of thing can't be done. Who would object to that? I think even the billionaires that are saving the money would recognize that it's just really not right. And they'd be like, all right, you're not going to jail, but you can't do it anymore. Change the tax code, right. That was his point, but now he's the president, and has he changed it? I don't know. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are rightly a bit disappointed in some of what has or hasn't been done. Well, good news. Made it through some of the most treacherous radio hazards on this circuit. And I'm not going to say this was 100% success, because our 4K stream that was originally high bitrate got knocked down to basically its lowest survivable bitrate, but it seems to have survived. So that's a thumbs up. If you like that, become a sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Had a very good show yesterday with Ken Silva, author of the Trump assassination attempts, what the intelligence agencies missed and why it matters. That might not be the exact title, but you know what I'm talking about. You can also follow on X. A lot of people have been sending me posts about my former associate, this pseudonymous super troll. Oh, now it's blinking. Known as John Cullen. I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts about that. I haven't been... Brian says NGOs must go. Yes, I agree. It just seems like every single one of them is really just a giant scheme. Yeah, we're super low on the bit rate here. I wonder why that's happening. I got questions. Yeah, I don't know. I've got thoughts about John Cullen. It's very despicable what he's doing, having taken the... People say, oh, he's reporting on drones, you're reporting on drones, you want credit. It's not a matter of wanting credit. It's that I hadn't spoken to him for 10 months, and he dove on me when I found those drones. And now he's fully plagiarized it. He didn't find them. He just watched my videos, went back to Adam Bartholomew's videos, excised those portions of the video, put his own circle around the drones that I found, got another video of an insect, got a CGI video of a drone on with a gun on it, and now is pushing what appears to be a totally unsubstantiated theory and claiming he's the genius who discovered drones. It's not, oh, Jason's jealous. It's, why is John Cullen misdirecting people from facts related to this thing? A lot of people have also been messaging me saying, oh, are you still investigating Charlie Kirk? I mean, the answer is not really. At a certain point, I started to feel like the people who were staying on this Charlie Kirk assassination investigation, it's important and it's a tragedy that Charlie Kirk was killed, but it started to take on this really kind of sensationalist and even exploitive kind of feeling that made me want to kind of bow out. And that's another thing that I object to with regard to how John Cullen is handling it. Operation Mincemeat is now a play. Do people understand what David Hawkins would say about that? Remember, he used to talk about Operation Mincemeat, that the truth is so important, it must be protected by a bodyguard of lies. That's what I'm talking about with Cullen. I don't think he's interested in finding the truth. I think he, like George Webb, is interested in capturing the story and then driving people away from the truth. That's why I'm so upset about it, because I trusted him and treated him like a friend and even a brother. Nobody on X would see John Cullen if it wasn't for me. Literally, I created that X account for him. I helped him create a monetized platform, and then he turns around and lies to everyone, plagiarizes my material, stabs me in the back, steals from me, allows a false campaign blaming me for his so-called disappearance. He allows that to propagate for months while he's still collecting money from people. I just think it's really dishonest behavior, and it says a lot about him. Well, anyway, this is a semi-successful beta test of the system. I got to figure out why we dropped below 6 megabits and didn't recover. But thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great